Back like we left something with your favorite sports show. This is Sports Counterpoints on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you find your other shows. I don't think I mentioned this to you guys, but I want to stop saying podcast because don't nobody have an iPod? The whole point of a podcast was iPod and broadcast combined, and ain't nobody even seen an iPod. And I'll almost guarantee I'll even seen one in 10 years. So this is the Sports Counterpoints show. This is our sports show. We've been doing 7 years now. I'm GB. Got Brian and Coop with me, talking sports. What's going on, guys?
What's up? What's up?
What's up, man? We're in that portion of the year where NFL's done. So now we're gonna start transitioning to football. We'll be talking about some baseball as time goes. We'll be talking about golf. Anything else that comes up in the world of sports that we find interesting. So let's start with the NBA as the NBA All-Star game just happened. And I will say it hit I found out about the game on some, I'm seeing E40 and someone they're showing like players going dumb and coming out. They're like E40 brings the house down to NBA All-Star. I'm like, what NBA All-Star? Which is in LA, which Brian lives in. None of us even mentioned it or thought about it. So I think a lot of people went down there from what I saw to have fun and hang out, but it just kind of, it just was something that none of us cared about. But to that point, one, did y'all watch any of it at all?
Not an
I
iota
didn't.
of it.
Me
Matter of fact,
neither.
so I always know that the NBA All Star Game is Valentine's weekend. It's always been that weekend. So at some point in time, I think it was on Saturday, it dawned on me like, oh, there must be an All Star Game. Then I realized it was in Los Angeles. Um, Anyways, yeah, no, it really wasn't on my radar. Nor was it something that I was at all interested in watching. And then later on, saw that the format had changed, and
I brought it
uh,
up.
yeah, and it was, I don't know, they need to do something because it was uninteresting. And then I started looking it up, and it was like, oh, Mac McClung didn't do the dunk contest for the first time in a while. He was offering up his dunks that he would have done, all of which were better than the ones that were done, according to all the things that I read. Steph didn't do the 3-point contest. I was like, oh, that's a sad sack weekend.
Man. Coop,
I
did you
got
see
nothing
any
to
of
say
it or
about
did you
it.
pay attention to it? Just kind of hear about it?
I don't
Okay.
watch the NBA All
Didn't
Star game no
even
more.
see it. All
That's
right. Well,
50.
let's run it down then. We'll sports show, so let's at least
I mean, and Glenn,
yeah, it's
judging by the ratings, a lot of people felt like us. They didn't watch it either. So, but yeah, run down everything that happened.
that's kind of what I'm heating. So Heat's Keishad Johnson wins the dunk contest.
Who?
Dame Lillard takes down Devin Booker, and Keishad Johnson
Oh wait. You
wins
said
the dunk
Damian.
contest.
You said Damian Lillard. He hasn't played all season, right?
Damian Lillard beats Devin Booker in a three-point
Oh wow.
contest.
I didn't think he
I mean,
played
we
this
don't have to
year.
talk
Okay.
basketball, but I ain't watched none, man. I can't even tell you, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
So that's what happened there. And then like Brian alluded to, they changed the format of the All-Star game itself to where it's now based on you have three different teams, right? And it's USA versus the world. So basically, you have two American teams, the Stars, which are the young NBA stars, Stripes, which is the veterans, so Stars and Stripes, and then you have the Team World, if you will, and then each team has 12 players, or excuse me, 12 per conference, and then they structured it to where USA Stars played Team World, then the winner of that game played Team Stripes in the USA, and then the loser of that first game between USA and Team World played Stripes. So basically, everybody played everybody, and then the top two teams, based on record, played a final 12-minute championship game. Each game was 12 minutes. Teams all played. I heard, to give you a concept, all the games were pretty close. It was first game, Team World versus Team Stripes. So Team Stripes is the NBA veterans, was 45-48 with Stripes winning. The next game, Stars and Stripes, so the young NBA Stars versus the veterans of the Stripes team. Stripes won 40-42, another close game. And then the World game versus the Stars, so the World team versus the Young Stars was 35-37. So all those games were very close, which comes down to a championship game between the USA, to all the USA players, the young guys versus the veterans, and the young guys beat the veterans 47-21. Um, which would probably kind of make sense if they played that many games in one day. The older guys would probably, it would make sense they'd lose lose the last one. So from what I understood, I mean, and heard about it and saw, the games were all close. So you got that aspect of it. The guys seemed to be having fun, enjoyed playing. Um, but that's kind of how that shook out from that perspective. And then we'll see, I guess, where it goes going forward. Each player on the winning team won $125,000 with a prize pool of 1.8 million in total. So that's that's how that shook out. Do you guys, I mean, we didn't watch it, but I know we talked in the past about doing something to enhance interest. It doesn't seem like this worked for us from that perspective, but I will say we haven't been watching much basketball anyway, beyond kind of checking in with the Lakers. I think Brian, you watch a fair amount of Laker games, but do you guys is the All-Star game just a thing of the past, or can they fix it, or is it just something that
Look,
there's too much
look,
everything now, so people don't care?
let me tell you what people are not talking about. They're talking about players don't care. Of course, they make so much money, they don't even have to play in regular games. Why would they care about the All-Star game? I get that. Here's another thing. There's too many international players in the game. You say you prejudice against international players? I'm definitely not. The thing about international players are they're from a different country. They don't take the all like with Luka and Jokic. They have said publicly they don't care about the All Star game. This is like an American culture thing. So when you
Mm,
have somebody from other countries playing in the NBA and you're expecting them to care about the All Star game, that's just not going to happen. They didn't grow up caring about the All Star game. They want to play for their country, which is a great thing, and they care about, I guess, their
fair.
development leagues or wherever they come from. They don't care about the NBA All Star game. And when you make the game soft, the thing is, of all these rule changes, made the game easier for international players. The reason why they weren't successful in the past is the game was more physical. Now the physicality has been taken out of basketball, so now they can come over here and they can dominate. And you're expecting them to care about the All Star game. It's just not going to happen. They didn't grow up like that, and they care about their country. They don't care about the All Star game. So I think this is going to be an ongoing problem that can't be fixed. I mean, I know people are going to say, well, I know there's something that people can do. I don't know how you can make somebody care when they're making 50, 55 million a year and they don't have to play games in the regular season. I don't see how you can make them care about an All Star game if they don't have to play games in the regular season. But maybe Brian, you have another take on it.
Well, yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with international players because the All Star game started sucking long before they were in the league, at least in great numbers, right? I mean, it was the '80s, '90s, beginning of the '90s players that actually played hard, and there were very few international players then. But even then, in the mid '90s, when there still were not a whole bunch of international players, the league started sucking. The reason for that was is the contracts, as you mentioned before, got to the point where they just didn't need to play for the money. But the '80s and '90s guys and '70s and '60s, they played for pride. They locked down the other player because they wanted to show they were the best. There isn't that kind of doggedness nature in the NBA anymore. There's no fighting, right? There's no pushing. You get chippy. At the end of the game, they go get beers together. I think that cultural shift has more to do with it than there being U.S. players and international players. It has to do with more with the sense of entitlement that these superstar athletes have. One thought that I have is that the next time there's a collective bargaining agreement when they need to sit down, they need to talk about this. The NBA needs an all-star break event. It raises money, it builds awareness. They get to go into the communities. When I went to the all-star game with Glenn in Atlanta, we went and saw they had a whole bunch of events going on at the where you could go and shoot hoops, and there were players kind of walking around, and they need that for the kids and to build that next generation. So you got to figure out something. So why not in the collective bargaining agreement put something in there that if selected, they have to play. And if they don't play, it's a fine or a suspension or something like that to get it to the point that they feel more obligated. I mean, they were able to get this mid first half of the season tournament in there. They need to find some ways to get other marketing pieces in there because you're right. There is no reason for a player making $55 million a year or $40 million a year, whatever, even $10 million a year to give a care about $125,000. I also don't understand why if they have that kind of money at their disposal, why they can't make it so that these price points are better, right? $1 million for this, $1 million for that. Why 125,000? I mean, you cannot tell me that they can't get a $30-40 million total purse for all the events, with all the marketing that they're doing. It's the Super Bowl is multi-billion dollars. They're only asking for a single-digit percentage of that. I don't know. I think that the key here is finding a way to obligate the players to give care, making sure that there's more money involved, and making it something that has value. And what I mean by that is monetary value, not value in how it works.
I think it was an interesting point that Coop was making about the international players, because I could also see where young players in general, like you talk about growing up with the All-Star game meaning something. We're getting to the point where guys are young enough now that they wouldn't have even been
It's necessary.
around when it did
Right.
matter, even from a young
Right.
player or international player's perspective. So I could see that. When Brian talks about
Well,
the All-Star game we were at is 2003, you had Kobe playing, you had Jordan playing. Them dudes
yeah.
wanted to win and
No, they
cared.
still care at the end. Yeah,
And
they
I
still
think it
care.
changed it. And I think in a lot of ways, what I was talking to somebody about this recently was the concept of like LeBron and those guys who like stopped doing the dunk contest, started changing and taking that agency, which is fine. They could do that, but that was like the first generation of players who didn't do the dunk contest. Every star
LeBron's a
before them
U.S.
had.
player.
No, no, no,
I
no.
mean,
Yeah, I
I
know.
agree with the sentiment that he ruined the dunk contest when he said he wasn't going to do it. But he's an
I don't
American
think he.
player. He
Yeah,
just
I don't
I'm
doesn't
think he
saying
care.
will.
the concept is there, and then you have that aspect of guys who have take the agency not to play. The younger guys who we're mentioning who are winning the dunk contest may have never even seen those old contests unless they watch YouTube. Haven't seen. I mean, I remember the All-Star game with Magic and them boys playing. Like me and Dad were in there going crazy because of how good the basketball was. So you
Yeah,
start
even
losing
after
that,
that
and you
though.
add in a whole world team of international guys to, it's just so many layers of people who
Well,
wouldn't have that feeling of
well,
pride for their game.
it's not only that. And yeah, Brian mentioned pride. The All Star game didn't start sucking until close to 2010. But you mentioned pride, and that's right because they're growing up in this AAU culture. There's no pride in playing AAU. It used to be pride as a team winning. AAU is about me, not we. It's not us as a collective going out there showing the other team how that we're better than them. All that's gone mixed with international players, U.S. players' attitudes, just all this, the money that's making. It's all a combination as to why the All Star game would just not be what it was before. I just don't see it. I don't see how. It's just a combination of just those three things is enough
It's
for it
true in all
just be
sports, it
to
feels like,
suck.
right? We talk about everything but
No,
like baseball, maybe hockey,
well,
but
baseball All Star game is pretty good. Yeah,
yeah,
hockey.
that's
Yeah,
about
there's
it.
some
I
excitement.
mean, we look at football, we look at basketball, any of the sports we enjoy, like All-Star, Pro Bowl, whatever, is just it's kind of pointless now.
You know what the number one vote
Yeah.
getter? Just because I still don't believe in the whole international thing. You know what the number one vote getter for the 2003 All Star game was?
Who?
Yao Ming.
Oh, he played though, didn't
Yeah, they played though.
He played.
he? Yeah,
He
he played.
played, and he played hard.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
don't.
but he
I,
was
I
like
don't.
the
I
only.
don't buy
But
the international aspect of it. I think it's entitlement. I mean,
it's
those
it's more
guys played for
international.
pride and
You said Yao Ming. That's one international player. Tell me another international player that played. Now it's like
Dirk
half the teams are
Dirk
international.
Nowitzki. I'm
He
just looking at
played.
that
Yep.
one. Peja
Yep.
Stojakovic.
Yep.
Um,
He played in the
who was on
'90s.
the other
Yep.
side?
All pride.
Zadronis Ilgauskas.
Yeah,
Yeah. Those are all pride. Drazen Petrovic was
pride.
another prideful
Yeah.
player. Yeah. These
Yeah,
guys ain't prideful. Yeah. These guys are like that. They're
No,
not that.
I think it's. I just think it's silly to blame it on to say it has anything to do with international players. International players have been. I don't
No,
think
I'm
they're the
not blaming
problem.
it.
I think it's more related. You were saying that you were talking about
That's fucked up.
the whatchamacallit, the travel
AAU circuit.
teams. Yeah, the
Oh yeah,
AA
yeah,
circuit. I think it
yeah,
has more to do with that because all these kids grew up playing with each other. The
yeah,
that started a little bit back then, but like Allen Iverson played on one travel team when he was playing. I'm just using him as an example, and he
yeah,
played with that one, and he played against him. Now you have these super teams where a kid from Los Angeles is on a travel team with a kid from
yeah,
SAC, who's on a kid with a
yeah,
kid from Philly. Like you know,
yeah.
they
It
did.
didn't used to be like
There's
that.
never been
Yeah,
competition amongst
right.
these kids, so they don't
Yeah,
really care to show them. They're mostly just friends.
yeah, yeah,
I don't know. I think that has more to do with it. I agree
yeah.
with you completely on the AAU problem.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a point. That's a
I
good
think
point.
AAU's ruined basketball. Period.
Yeah, yeah,
Let
period. Yeah,
alone
yeah, yeah.
let alone the All Star
Right.
game.
Right. You got a point because before when you had travel teams, it was from your area. Now you got the
Yeah.
Oakland Soldiers, and nobody on that Oakland Soldier team is from Oakland. LeBron wasn't from Oakland, and Kendrick Perkins wasn't from Oakland. Kendrick Perkins from Texas, LeBron's from Ohio, and they're both on the Oakland Soldiers travel team. So yeah, that is that's a good point too as well. Travel teams
Yeah.
are different now. They got everybody, not even from the area.
Interesting.
Anyways,
Yeah.
they got to find
Yeah.
something, and they got to, like I said, I mean, even if you have to, I don't think this is the greatest method, but even if you have to put it in the collective bargaining agreement and just force them.
I'm wondering too, by the way people consume games, like it almost would feel like you'd have to make it
Nobody,
some kind of
but people.
like a social media
Well, that's another thing.
streaming
But
situation to
people
try
don't
and
watch
get
the games
younger
though.
people to watch.
They
How
don't
about
watch games
this?
though.
That's what I'm
How
saying.
about this? Make the purse worth $5 million or more, or $5 to $10 million, and then have it pickup game style. You get 3 or 4 guys, they're the captains, and they get to go out and find whoever the hell they want from wherever they want. Pickup game, because that brings in the element of pride. Nobody's trying to go pick up their squad and go into an arena on TV and get shown. Not to mention, you make it worth $5 or $10 million for the winner. They're going to play.
I still don't see them doing it. Somebody will
I
say they're
do.
gonna get
Yeah.
injured.
That'd be
And then,
interesting.
and then they don't compete. That's what I'm saying. So like you go, if you're, let's use LeBron as an example. He wouldn't even be the guy, but he gets picked as the captain, and he goes up to XYZ. He goes up to SGA, and SGA doesn't want to play. Great, he doesn't play. But there's going to be there's going to be a group out there that wants that $5 or $10 million, and they're going to play hard, and we're going to see a competition.
Wait. I gotta go back to something you said. How LeBron did not ruin the dunk contest. LeBron is not a dunker. He can dunk, but he's not a dunker. How did he ruin the dunk
He
contest? He's not a good
he was
dunker.
considered a dunker when he came into the league. As a matter of fact, everyone was waiting.
Yeah.
He was challenged by Kobe Bryant, and he backed out and said, "I don't want to compete in the
He
challenge."
should. Kobe's a
Kobe,
dunker.
look, he was the one that made himself a dunker.
Yeah,
When
he
he first
could've
came in the
won it.
league, he couldn't shoot for crap, so he had to have been a dunker. That boy could hit the broadside of a barn with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
If you
LeBron is not an
ever look
artist.
at
LeBron's not an artistic
practice
player.
footage,
Just not. He's a power player.
practice footage,
Yeah,
you
well,
could
he was about to get embarrassed. That was
practice
why.
footage, you definitely could.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
LeBron's not a
He'd
dunker,
have won
man. He
just
can
'cause
do a
of the name,
windmill,
but
but creativity and all that type of stuff, you don't do that.
You're talking about an old man right now. He was considered. I'm not trying to argue for him or
Yeah.
against him. He was
Yeah.
considered a
I've
dunker
seen the
then.
practice footage.
And they
I've
were
seen a
talking
windmill.
about,
Yeah.
and he went to all the practices and was trying to outdunk everybody. He just didn't want to get embarrassed. But he should have done it.
Yeah, be interesting to say. Word. So, all right. So, sliding from that to Coop, you mentioned some as we're in between, and we're just running a quick show. And for everybody who listens, one, thank you always for checking us out. However you consume your shows, online, streaming, whatever, whether it's video or just audio. Thanks for checking us out. We're going to transition from a bi-monthly show format going forward. We
Bi-weekly.
typically do this
Bi-weekly.
bi-weekly. Excuse me.
Bi-weekly.
Thank you. Bi-weekly, based on the football. Based on football season, kind of every week, every Sunday. So we try and make sure we're up to date weekly with football, basketball, and this portion of the year can do a little bit more every couple of weeks. Kind of stuff happens. So we'll see you guys every 2 weeks. But Coop, you kind of were mentioning you had some thoughts on a few things, a few off-season NFL topics you were curious in. Kind of what are you thinking of in that vein?
Yeah, just 3 storylines. Number one, just want to know where Malik Willis ends up. I know he has a small sample size in Green Bay, but I think he did enough for, a quarterback-starved team to probably give him a starting shot. I think he's been in the league 4 or 5 years now, so I'm interested to see where he ends up. If it's the Jets, you can kiss his career goodbye. Also, number two, I said before the season started, if I was the GM of the Miami Dolphins or Arizona Cardinals, I would get rid of Tua and Kyler Murray as soon as the season is over. And I think Kyler Murray is the better player of the two. So I'm interested to see if Arizona cuts him, who gives him a starting job. Now, I've heard Minnesota might be in, but I can't see Kevin O'Connell and Kyler Murray actually getting. I don't see that being I don't see him being a Kevin O'Connell guy. And I can also see Tua being a backup for a team, but I don't see Kyler Murray being a backup. I just don't think he has a temperament to do that. And then finally, because it's my division for Seattle, what they're going to do. Heard they're trying to pay Kenneth Walker, and I heard they're trying to pay JSN as well, which I understand. The only problem is the heart and soul of that team, which is the defense, is going to suffer. You can't build an elite defense year after year if you're paying everybody, on offense or whatever the case is. And we've noticed the last two Super Bowls that it wasn't necessarily a top tier quarterback that won, but the best overall team with talent won. And Seattle was definitely a talented team overall. And if you pay those two guys, they're going to lose some players, just like Philly did when they won. They kind of fell off a little bit. So I'm just interested to see what happens with Seattle's roster. But those are the three things I'm curious about.
Me?
Yeah, for me, it's a lot of things Minnesota, obviously, and the NFC North, but predominantly in Minnesota. I want to see who they get as a GM. There's talk that they might promote from within because there's the person who's going to be handling the GM duties over the next 3 months. What's his name? Is Rob Brzezinski. He's the internal candidate. And then there's also talk that Ray Agnew from the Lions and then McKay, who's a kind of a big family name for USC in Los Angeles. From he's the Rams. He's like assistant general manager or something like that. But I can understand why they would look to those three candidates. The Vikings guy has been with the team since like 2009, a very long time. And the Lions obviously is a good team to model after, and then the Rams are always a good team to model after. The other thing that I'm looking forward to seeing what happens is your division, the NFC West. I mean, it's just got so many good teams. And the 49ers obviously had some health issues and have all types of cap issues, but they can figure that out. They could be really good next year. The Rams are always fun to watch because there's no GM or front office that knows how to turn something around and move it forward. I mean, it was just a couple of years ago when we were all talking about how they had sold everything to win that one Super Bowl, and then they were going to have to tank, which is exactly what they did. They went into the tank, but it only took them like 2 years to come back and build another dominant team, which is hugely impressive. And then the Seattle Seahawks, can they keep it together? Because they are a very good team. Again, they, based on metrics, they were top 10 of all time in a lot of different areas. So can they figure out a way to keep that together and do it again? I don't know. The last thing I'm kind of curious about is just obviously individually the quarterback situation with the Vikings. There's obviously a lot of talk about making some trades and moves so that they can have enough pieces to go and talk to the Bengals about Burrow. There's talk about whether or not they should go and get Kirk Cousins back. There's talk about whether or not they're stuck with JJ McCarthy because there is literally nobody in this draft that's worth it. But I'm very curious. I'm also somewhat curious on how long they're going to be able to keep JJ Justin Jefferson happy, because he has been a great teammate and he has said all the right things. And even when he's gotten frustrated, when they came and asked him why he's frustrated, he put it on himself and said, we're not playing better. I'm not playing better, so on and so forth. But the answer was JJ McCarthy sucks and he can't get him the ball the way he needs to get the ball. And at some point in time, this dude who's been a saint of a teammate is gonna run away, and I really don't want to see him. I just think he's a great human being, a great football player, and I hope we can figure out some way to keep him interested in a long-term career with the Vikings.
I think Justin Jefferson is probably like a Larry Fitzgerald. I think he's going to stay in Minnesota forever. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Fitzgerald played
I
bad
hope
quarterback.
so. I
Yeah.
hope so. But
Yeah,
Larry
they got to a Super
Fitzgerald
Bowl, though.
is a ridiculously super loyal.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a lot more like him.
Yeah,
I
that's true.
hope that
That's true.
I hope he is, and there's been other times where you're like, oh, this guy's going to be there forever, and it would be great if we can do that and keep Justin Jefferson around, but I don't know, and the only way I'll know is 8 years from now when he's deciding to hang it up and he's still there.
Yep. Yeah.
Glenn, anything from
Mine's,
you?
I'm just curious about obviously the draft, free agency. Those are always one time. See who the Raiders get. Of course, a lot of mine's centric around the team rebuild and see who they get and how they play it and how Kubiak and these guys mesh. Around the league, I mean, I think Willis is an intriguing story to see where he goes and what happens. If I'm the Packers, I would try and keep him because we've seen too many times how, getting rid of your backup ends up going bad because you're dang near you can almost guarantee you're gonna face an injury at some point. And depending on when that injury comes from your starter, if it comes at a bad point of the season and you lose 2 or 3 games, that could be your season. So be curious to see what happens there. And then the Dolphins are very interesting to me too. Already Tyreek is gone, so where does Tyreek Hill go? I would go back to the Chiefs if I could by any way, especially with his with Bieniemy going back there. What happens with Tua? So a lot of those things are going to be really interesting to see what happens over this next few weeks. And I think we got combine next week or 2 weeks or something. So will definitely be interesting, man. But yeah, so we'll talk about that, and then let's throw our last few segments in here, and we'll get up out of here. Starting with hogwash. B, you started this one week, said something was a bunch of hogwash. We made it a weekly segment. What do you have right now as hogwash in the world of sports?
It's the All-Star game. I mean, it's complete and utter hogwash right now. It is not watchable. It's not entertaining. It's not interesting. I honestly would not know who won the skills competition, if they even still have that, the 3-point competition or the dunk competition, if it wasn't for the fact that you mentioned it today. Like, it has gotten to a
Yeah.
place that is so deep and dark that it's a hogwash event.
Cool.
I got a double hogwash in both in college. Number one, it's we got to do something about this eligibility thing. There's the quarterback from Mississippi. I think he's coming back for his sixth or seventh year, and then they got a linebacker. He's not an NFL prospect, but he plays for the University of Montana. He's a married, got a couple kids. He was part of Trevor Lawrence's recruiting class. He's coming back for his ninth season in college football. I mean, this is how you get teams like Indiana with guys who's 24, 25 years old playing against 17, 18-year-olds. They got to do something about this. I don't think guys should be playing and, having college eligibility 8, 9, and 10 years. And then the other hogwash is the Pac-12. They should call it the state conference because every team in that conference ends in a state. I think it's I don't know all the teams, but I think it's Oregon State, Washington State, Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, Texas State, Utah State, and I'm probably missing one, probably San Diego State. But this is not the Pac-12 that we grew up on. They definitely need to change the name of that conference. It can't be those teams in the Pac-12.
Tough. Yeah, I don't really have one. I think the All-Star game is probably it. All-Star games in general, man, they've kind of just lost their energy completely. Um, and then game ball, Coop. So you had this when you were giving somebody a game ball for sports excellence for week.
Yeah, I'm giving mine to the coach of UCLA. I think his name is Mike Cronin. He was talking about the development or lack of development of the U.S. players. I've been on this for a while. We talked about it earlier with AAU, but also I think what nobody's talking about is the G League. The G League is an absolute joke. They don't develop players in the G League. There's no reason to even have it. If Adam Silver was smart, he would actually pair up with college basketball and work to develop players in college and not have them come out so early just to get paid in the NBA. That's what I would do. Relying on AAU and the G League to develop players is just not working, and it's contributing to the product that the NBA has now.
I think B said his name was Mickey Cronin, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, for me,
And
my
then
game
B.
ball goes to Colin Morikawa, who came back down the stretch to win the Pebble Beach tournament this weekend, which was an awesome final round. Scotty Scheffler had 3 eagles to get back into contention and be leader in the clubhouse. Ultimately, that wasn't enough because people like Colin Morikawa, who hit a 4-iron in on the 18th hole over the water, doing a big fade over the off the water and back in. Beautiful shot. I was paying more closely paying attention more closely this time because I got to play the course twice in 2025, and so I know what he was trying to do and how difficult it is to take any shot over the water on 18 into a relatively small green and basically stick the landing to make a birdie and win by 1 stroke. But it's a beautiful course that a lot of players love playing. You can get a lot of birdies, which make it really exciting down the stretch. There's not a lot of holes where you can still get an eagle on the final hole to win a tournament. But Colin Morikawa got the birdie, and my game ball goes to him.
Nice. Man, I don't got 1 minute to win it. Just thanks everybody for listening. And take care of yourselves. Coop.
Yeah, my minute to win it. We're gonna do another March Madness tournament pool online. I think Brian won it last year, beat me by one game. The championship game was the decider. It was for $100. This year we're gonna double it to at least 200, maybe 250. So I hope everybody. You have to be a subscriber to the podcast, and hopefully get as many entries as we can. More
All
details to
right.
come.
All right. I'll go create a bill just so I can have something to spend that $250 on. Uh, anyways, yeah, the only thing that I'll say is there's a lot going on, but I'm not going to pay too much attention to the political disaster that's going on, or the fact that a CBS show was not allowed to show an interview because Trump would get mad about it. I'm going to focus on what's going on in California right now, because most of our listeners are here. We're going through torrential rain that's going to go into next week. And in the United States, the mountains that have the most snow, it's not Utah, it's not Montana, it's none of those places. They're all in California right now. We have an avalanche going on in one part of the state that some people are trapped in and they're trying to rescue them. We have horrible rain and flash flooding. And my heart just goes out to all of them. It's crazy, this weather that we're dealing with. We had it a little while ago, now it's back. So I hope everybody stays dry, safe, and is able to make it through all of this weather.
And that's been choppy for me. Like I think the rains have my internet going crazy. So it's February 17th, 2026. I don't know if I said the date we started. I don't think I did. Next for Counterpoints, and we'll catch up in 2 weeks. Thanks everybody for listening.